Every year, we like to look at the weirdest Pokemon sprites from a main series Pokemon game, a tradition since 2013, but in 2021, we covered the last generation to use sprites in a mainline game, so a year later, we turned to the first internationally released Stadium game to see where it all began with 3D models, and then we did an anniversary special a year later. But once the Gen 2 games rolled around, so did a new Pokémon Stadium. The original 151 and the next batch of 100 were put in 3D again, so we could see all the cool and odd choices when these Pokemon move outside of sprite form. Pokemon nowadays is very on-model, but with this being Johto's first foray into polygons, we want to take a look at how odd the Generation 2 Pokemon looked with the N64's power. For the most part, we're ranking on anything that struck us as weird when seeing these Pokemon move for the first time with those N64 graphics. And since the Generation 1 Pokemon models were basically the same as the first Stadium game, which we have a list on, we'll just be judging the Generation 2 Pokemon models for this video. Speaking of judging, here's the co-host of Cute Things, Judgment Meter.
I'm here to look at all the new Pokemon. And when I say new, I mean old.
Now, let's recall the top 10 weirdest Pokemon Stadium 2 models. Number 10, Quilava. We wanted to include at least one of the Johto starter lines on this list, but they all do what you'd expect them to do in Pokemon Stadium 2. They look great, but nothing really sticks out to us as weird per se. However, the Cyndaquil line does have the most quirks out of all of the starters to us. Mainly, I like how they ignite their quills. Quilava's sassy back turn really got our attention, which is why he's the main rep for this entry over the other two Cyndaquil forms.
He had to turn around because he didn't know where he was going. He got lost.
But I also appreciate how Cyndaquil shows us his back by jumping in the air and doing a reverse 180. Why does he jump up like that? Does he think he's in Tony Hawk? It's as if he's afraid that people won't be able to see him, so he has to leap into the air above the crowd, yet loses control of his jump and is at risk of hitting his head on the fall down. And then there's Typhlosion, who has the most standard of the quill flares. Quilava stands out a bit more to me too, because it does this little butt wiggle before attacking. Like he's got a fire blast, but we have technique to it. The wiggle is essential, it's like the motion before a golf swing. Another thing about all three, but especially Quilava, is they don't have their quills out when idling. They're all sans fire. This is known from the modern games and is seen in the anime with Cyndaquil and Typhlosion, but it reminded me of how rarely Quilava appeared in the Johto anime, so I wasn't as used to seeing it without its flaming accessories since the sprites always had it ignited.
Oh, he's one of the middle children. He's awkward and sad, but cute. What a bean. What a bean. He fell over.
Ash's Cyndaquil got all the screen time of the evolutionary line in the anime at the time, so I saw it with its quills unignited plenty, and even though Typhlosion rarely appears too, it was in that Raikou special, so it at least had one big deal appearance. Quilava, on the other hand, only had a minor cameo right before the Silver Conference, which was the endgame tournament of Johto, and then it was used by one of Ash's opponents in the tournament for a more major appearance, which is over 100 episodes into the Johto seasons. So if you played Quilava in Pokémon Stadium 2 back in the day, that might have been the first time you've seen it without its quills. Number 9, Cleffa. Cleffa gets on here for one reason, and that's the sass. When it's sent out, or is idling, or even attacking, it does that pull down the eye, tongue out pose as a taunt, just all the time. No matter what power it's tapping into for attacks, it needs to do this taunt to activate them.
Oh my goodness, what a tease. I hope it has a good follow-up, because someone's gonna kick its butt.
No, it's got some of the most horrible stats in the game.
Well, to the graveyard you go.
Like, why is it being so arrogant? I get that it's a baby and it has no sense of humbleness, but come on, your defenses are made of paper, and so are your offenses. You're basically made of paper. Don't give the opponent more fuel for anger. And it has the audacity to do a sad frown after it gets hit. No, you take that hit with dignity to back up that you can dish it out and take it. I'm not falling for your cute act and feeling bad for you.
Its trainer did not teach it manners. Oh god. Alexa, stop. Its trainer did not teach it manners. Manners!
Manners isn't a move, you can't teach that, but play rough is.
Yes, so is taunt.
At the same time, I'll give Cleffa credit that it's a bold fairy for looking into the face of danger and sticking its tongue out at it. I've never thought much of the baby Pokemon, but if they're doing stuff like this, I can at least appreciate the personality behind them. Number 8, Ariados. First, we gotta give credit to its pre-evolution Spinarak, who can shake its abdomen to have the face pattern turn from a smile to anger in Pokémon Stadium 2. I knew he could do this from the anime, but it's funny how he does this for many of his non-physical attacks, like he's saying, "This fight is serious business now." It also made me realize that modern Spinarak models have a neutral face on the back, so he can choose to frown or smile now. As for Ariados, what's up with its attack animation? Similar to Spinarak, its attacks are also implied to come from the abdomen, but instead of just arching its back, he jumps upside down, ass to the opponent as he balances on his top legs? Is that what these are? I never truly analyzed what they're supposed to be. But the sudden jumping upside down used to weird me out a bit. Why can't he stay facing the opponent? Is his mobility so limited that it's faster for him to jump upside down instead of scurry 180 degrees clockwise? He does do the same abdomen motion as Spinarak before he jumps, so maybe he realizes the old method just ain't gonna work and has to improvise. I can respect him for that. And shoutouts to Ariados' fainting animation, where he tries to stay standing, but his legs stiffen up and he belly flops with a thud. It's kinda funny. And if you're arachnophobic like Misty, you can now easily dispose of your Ariados.
I'm not afraid of well, if I really don't want a bug in my space, I carefully trap it under a cup or a container of some sort, and then carefully slide a piece of paper under it, and then I carefully carry it outside, and then let nature have its way with it.
Number 7, Sentret. This model is a good reminder of the sheer tail strength of Sentret. This little buddy was usually standing on his tail, so we knew it was strong, but actually seeing it withstand the bombardment of wind, rocks, fire, and whatever else I'm showing on screen, while still staying on that tail is an indicator that Sentret has more strength in his tail than Hitmonchan has in both of his iron fists. Even when fainting, Sentret's determined to keep that pose. If anything, he seems to extend the tail a bit more. I think he's going into rigor mortis. Not so cute now, huh?
Do you notice that, screaming? Screaming is most of their attacks. Face first and screaming.
Oh yeah, he does kinda open his mouth when he lunges forward. Also, I love the exaggerated fist he gives on some attacks. It's like he has a Popeye arm.
What kind of attack is that?
That is his Shadow Ball, and I will hear no slander of it.
What a funny little thing.
I also think this was the first time I saw Sentret on 2 feet for occasional poses, which is a pose it would take more often in later games. In the sprite and official art at the time, it's always balancing on the tail. Even in the Johto Journey's theme song, it's running on all 4s and then does the tail pose. I guess it might have stood on 2 legs in its spotlight episode in the anime, but I think I memory hold this episode because I remember none of it, and I watched Pokemon religiously for the first 3 generations, especially the first 3 seasons, but I can't recall anything about this episode. I remember all the other early Johto episodes, like Casey's Chikorita, Quagsire stealing the GS Ball, Gligerman, the Heracross debut, Scizor being a cool guy, and even Pidgey getting its own spotlight episode since it only had small side roles during the first 2 seasons. But this episode, can't tell you anything about it.
Why is that one sad?
I mean, it's just a screenshot. He's happy for most of the episode.
I want a happy one.
Is this one better?
Yeah, he's happier. He wants a treat.
Anyway, Sentret. Good of him to stick for the bit for this model, and with the strength of that tail, it might as well be a flexing arm. Number 6, Porygon 2. For why Porygon 2 makes this list, it's all in the idle pose. The idea of the Porygon line was to show the advancement of computer graphics, going from blocky polygons to something more smooth for the evolution, but did they intentionally have it look like a duck, or was that coincidental? I think that was the intent, but I love how Pokémon Stadium 2 said, "This looks like a bird, we're having it do bird things." The entire time Porygon 2 is idling, it's doing a drinking bird motion, just tipping down, then back up infinitely until battling happens. I feel like Homer Simpson since I have giddy amusement watching this thing for minutes. Then when someone starts battling it to make it go all wonky, I'm like, hey, I was watching that. Its attacking motions are also fun, watching its little leg things spin around really fast. Looking at it move does feel like I'm playing with a computer program from the late 90s that just lets me mess with 3D shapes on the screen. I just like the visual stimulation. The only extra thing I wish he did was break apart. When he faints, he just stops floating, pretty standard. But when Porygon faints, it falls to pieces, gets swirly eyes. It's a funny bit. Definitely a better feature of the pre-evolution, but I guess these are the consequences of upgrading to the graphics of the 21st century. Number 5, Piloswine. Similar to the mystery of Gloom's open eyes that the original Pokémon Stadium showed us, Pokémon Stadium 2 revealed if Piloswine actually had eyes under its tufts of facial fur, and the answer is yes, it did. They're just always closed. Oh, that's anticlimactic. I was hoping for the bug eyes of Gloom or Electrode, but I'll take it. It's something unexpected. When he later got a moving sprite in Pokemon Crystal, we also saw he had tiny dot eyes for exactly one frame, which is adorable. But I like to think the Pokemon Stadium model started this trend for Piloswine.
And he has such big eyebrows. Look at that. I bet he's a lot smaller under all that hair.
Honestly, what's kinda weird about this model to me is how he looks like he's in pain every time he unleashes an attack. Like his ears are flapping, his body is shaking, of course the eyes are closed. It's like one of those sneezes that hurts your everything. Would you give him a tissue?
I would give him a haircut.
Why?
I wouldn't want him totally nude. Only a little nude.
But he needs that fur to survive in the snow.
I don't think he spends a lot of time in the snow.
But it's literally in his Pokedex entry. You find his pre-evolution on Ice Path.
He needs a break. He's very tired from all of the battling.
I'm just gonna hide the razors from you. Number 4, Togepi. Everyone loves Togepi, but I forgot how awkward it is to see it fight. Like, to do its moves, Togepi has to do some sort of breakdancing technique where it spins around on its butt. Perhaps the momentum of the spin gives it the energy it needs to fire off its hearts or whatever. And continuing what Cleffa started, it gives you a little taunt when you send it out. Togepi gives you a finger waggle, like it's telling you, you're not getting past me. Or since Togepi is known for metronome, it's warning you that this finger waggle will be the tool of your undoing in this battle. But most likely it's just a no taunt.
I'm gonna wag my finger at you like no, you did a bad thing.
But what cements Togepi on this list is its fainting animation. It doesn't just fall or try to keep standing before its body gives out. No, it runs away even though its HP has been depleted, and the only thing stopping it is the trip at the end where its trainer is like, okay, that's enough.
I knew she'd fall over.
Oh, I was expecting you to feel at least a little bad for Togepi on this edition of Togepi News.
On Togepi News? Togepi doesn't watch news. Togepi's a baby.
It's also funny that its pose before running away is like, no, please, no more! Did you expect Togepi's fainting animation to be so dramatic?
I would assume it would just like go into its shell thing and, make that diamond with its head.
What are you doing? Where are you going? Why are you running? Why are you running?
It's like a Wile E. Coyote gag where he's running on a cliff that's not there until he realizes it's not there. Togepi thinks it can run away despite not having any health left, and then it just falls because its body realizes, wait, I'm dead. So thank you for this small bit of comic relief, Togepi. Number 3, Granbull. Upon first glance, this is a pretty normal model of Granbull. It's just your standard giant purple bipedal bulldog with a large lower jawline who simply comes out and does its roar. Its head enlarges a bit when it attacks, but nothing where it seemed off-model to me. However, when Granbull gets hit, that's when you see how off-model it can truly get. Its lower jaw just extends out to a cartoonish degree, like a drawer being opened. You can put all your socks in there, or even use it as a cash register.
It looks like he's at the dentist and he has a lot of Novocaine in there. He's getting some dental work done.
Some of its Pokedex entries state that its lower teeth and jaw are so heavy, it causes its head to tip down, which is actually kinda sad. Now I can't help but notice that its model's head appears to be looking downwards at an angle. Anyway, that might explain why the jaw loses control when Granbull is distracted by being attacked. Its fainting animation also gives us more jaw physics. After trying to hold on for a bit, its jaw just drops like the twist of a mystery novel was revealed to it. I'd say this is good physical comedy, but knowing about its jaw issues now, I just want to give it a soothing heat pack.
What was this all for? Nothing.
Number 2, Jumpluff. Similar to how Porygon Porygon 2 looked like a duck, so they gave it a drinking bird motion. Jumpluff's hands look like pom-poms, so it's going full cheerleader. And it's not just a little motion, it's got a full routine. Left, right, center, go team. This is one of those scenarios where I never noticed that they looked like pom-poms, but now that you've presented the idea to me, I can't unsee it. Oricorio, you're no longer the best cheerleader in Pokemon.
It's psyching itself up. We're psyching you up. I don't remember what sound it makes, but probably like jump left, or whatever.
What does that translate to?
Kick ass, I'm gonna kick your ass. So cute. It's a blueberry cheerleader. What is it?
It's the cottonweed Pokemon.
It is a 3-part cottonweed. It's like an atom cottonweed.
Huh, chemistry. And once again, a Pokemon on this list has a noteworthy fainting animation. While its pre-evolutions are disappointed in their loss and accept their fate, Jumpluff is holding on to hope that it can keep on dancing. You see it trying to maintain composure, but it can't keep balance. Yet still, when it's about to go belly up, it shakes its fake pom-poms one last time to say, "Go team." And it still keeps a pose as it falls. When it comes to being the team mascot, this is the energy you want. The performance can get interrupted, but it's not going to be ruined if Jumpluff has anything to say about it. For number 1, we picked the most uncanny model. No other model strikes fear into its opponent like this one, which makes sense considering its pre-evolution. Number 1, Crobat. Anyone who was around for the Generation 1 games probably remembers the terror that was the Golbat sprite in Red and Blue version. The tongue was iconic, spit coming off it, and the eyes were bigger than the face. Why? Then the original Pokémon Stadium portrayed it with just as uneasy of a feeling, where it's creepily swaying back and forth with its wings covering its mouth, and it still has that tongue when it attacks. With Crobat's official art and sprite at the time not really following this level of fear in this generation, I was expecting a normal model, but instead, they took all the uncanniness from its tongue as a Golbat and put it in those teeth. Why are they so big and can't stay in its mouth?
What's wrong with its face? Does he have teeth?
Well, yes, but they always looked like it was level with its body, like an upside-down smile, or maybe it was even happy, like its mouth should never be open, and if it was, you don't see the teeth. Perhaps the large underbite would look a bit goofy on its own, but combine it with its eyes. Like, okay, fine, it's just flying there, it's got the default angry eyes, but when he does his cry or attacks, he opens them as wide as possible with the pupils as undilated as he can get them, and all while he flares those teeth at us for maximum nightmare.
I know that those are his teeth, but I just don't like it. How does he chew? Where are his top teeth?
Listen, would you rather have him not be able to eat properly or not be terrifying?
I mean, he just died, so both are true.
Though its fainting animation was pretty standard, it would have been cool if he let out one last cry to make it feel like he's unleashing a curse on you with those manic eyes. Now obviously, there's much scarier things than peak Crobat right here, but for Pokemon, I think it's kind of unnerving. It's hard to truly sell it as scary after seeing what Golbat had in store for us one generation earlier, but Crobat does his best to follow up the weird mouths of its evolutionary line, making it the perfect number 1 for this list. Now, what did you think? Did all these models have oddities to you, or were some of them just too normal to even notice? And what are some of your favorite Pokémon Stadium 2 models, whether we discussed them or not? Let us know in the comments. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and we will see you in the next video.